My name is Lisa Rogers, and I'm an education student at the University of Missouri. Today we are going to be exploring the Magic Pen from Smart Technologies, both inside and outside of Smart Notebook. Now the first thing that we're going to want to do is to add it onto our main toolbar. Now you can either go down and left click the spockety looking thing on the bottom, or you can right click anywhere on the toolbar to bring up customized floating tools. And this is the Smart Technology toolbar that you're going to be able to access no matter what program you're on when you're on your SMARTboard. What we're going to do is we're going to click the addition sign here, and then we are going to left click and drag our Magic Pen icon to anywhere on the toolbar. I'm going to put it here right below the Creative Pen. Now click Done, and now we're able to access the Magic Pen from any application that we're on in our SMARTboard. Okay, and now that we've got our Magic Pen on our toolbar, we're ready to look at the functions of the Magic Pen within Smart Notebook. Now there are three functions of the Magic Pen within Smart Notebook. There's the circle emphasize function, the square zoom function, and the disappearing ink. Now first of all, we're going to look at the circle emphasizing function. Now let's say that we're learning the continents in class, and we want to show the kids where Australia is. Well, what we can do is we can pick up one of the pens from the Smart Notebook. We can go over here and use the pen to click on the Magic Pen. And then we draw a circle in the size and shape we want it around Australia. And now let's say that we don't want to talk about Australia anymore. We want to talk about India. So you want to put your pen down so we don't end up with ink everywhere. And now you can click anywhere outside of the circle and move it over to India. Now that's a little big for India, so we can actually change the size by clicking within the circle. Though this can be a little tricky, so I'd recommend playing around with it a bit yourself, or if it's still not working, either use the mouse or redraw it. But if you click in and kind of, okay, it's not cooperating. You start in the center, and you can pull out or you can pull in to make it bigger or smaller. And now we have it the right size to go for India. It's still not quite the right size, so we can click the X and then redraw it. You can do whichever one suits your fancy. And now we have a circle over India. And it's kind of an oval shape. You don't really need to make an exact circle, though you do need to have both ends closed in order for it to work. Now we're going to look at the square zoom function. So for the square zoom function, we do almost exactly what we did for the circle function, except for we make a square. Now let's talk about South America. And we make a square around it, or a rectangle, with the Magic Pen, and it blows up. Now you can make it bigger or smaller, and it kind of at first will size down to be the right proportions. And you can either use your mouse, which I find to be a lot easier, or you can use your fingers like you did with the circle, though this tends to work a little better than the circle because it's pretty intuitive about going out or in. You don't have to go out at first. And now we can definitely say South America and talk about the mountains in Chile and whatever else you want to point out to your students. Now if we want to move it to look at Africa, we click outside of the square zoom and we can move it to wherever we want on the map. And now Africa is blown up. And Africa, you can kind of see how there's a three-dimensional cube kind of look to it. There's little gray lines right here. And when you want to change the zoom, you click within the box. And so you can make it bigger or smaller. Let's make it a bit smaller. The mouse is still easier to use. And that is the square zoom function. Now we're going to talk about the last function of the Magic Pen within Smart Notebook, which is the disappearing ink function. Now you pick up the Magic Pen again and click. You can actually click either toolbar when you're in Smart Notebook, though only this one will be visible when you're in full screen mode, which actually let's go there. And now we're going to show the kids how to write the continents' names. So let's go up here and write Asia. Now 10 seconds after you pick up the pen from the Smart Notebook, the character that you drew will disappear. So it doesn't really distract from the map because it's only there long enough for the kids to be able to read it. Also, you might want to be careful about making words that have O's in them because in my experience it can tend to bring up the emphasized circle function, but just be aware of that when you're writing things. Now that we've taken a look at the three functions of the Magic Pen within Smart Notebook, we're going to take a look at what you can do with it outside of Smart Notebook on your SMARTboard. In this case, we're going to use it in the browser. Now you have two functions here. You have your circle emphasize function and your square zoom function, and though you access them in the same exact way you do in Smart Notebook, they do perform very differently. Now we're looking at this infograph over the visual history of Christmas trees. Now let's pick up our pen, click this Magic Pen, and draw a circle around the fact that the first artificial tree was made in 1883. And as you see, it doesn't pop up exactly where we placed it or in the shape we made it, which is one difference of using it in the browser versus using it in Smart Notebook. Though we do have two really cool functions here that we don't necessarily have in Smart Notebook. The first one's the transparency. And I like using about 25% of transparency so you can still see where you're going, but it's very much emphasized. And now we can see better, so we can move our circle. You click on the blue lines and you can reshape your circle to where you want it to be. And there we go. Now let's say you don't want it to be a circle at all, but you still want the emphasize function. Well, we can make it into a, by going to the Hollywood stage light looking thing, we can click shape and we can make it into a star or a rectangle. Now let's reshape this. And that's how we use the emphasize function in the browser. Now you go here to the menu, which you left click, and you can, this is how you exit it, and it's the only way you can exit it. Okay, now the last feature that we're going to be looking at today is the square zoom function in the browser. Now, you access this the exact same way that you use the square zoom function within Smart Notebook. Let's take a look at this quote here. And we draw a square or a rectangle with the Magic Pen. But look, it's not in the place or the size that we drew it, exactly like the circle function was. So now we're going to take a look at the 5 different zoom functions. Now, the first one's a hand, and this one's easy to use within the browser. And look, we can look at coolinfographics.com, or we can move down here. The limitation is that you're only going to be able to move within the box there. Now, the second one works very much the same way, except for this one's actually easier to use with the mouse, and this one looks like a target. And you can use your mouse, and it'll center on whatever it's on. And you can move it around, and the good thing about this one is that you don't have any hand or mouse or anything within the zoom box to distract from what you're trying to emphasize. Now the third function is actually the fourth one over, and it's the small red box and the big black box. And this is one of my favorites because it's very much a what you see is what you get. See, if we like zoom in more, our box gets smaller, but still that's exactly what we're seeing within the box. The limitation of all these is that you're never going to be able to see the material that you have the magnifier over. So you can move this over, and now let's be able to take a whole look at our Christmas tree infograph. Look at the quote by Teddy Roosevelt now. The fourth one is the small little gray box within the medium-sized black box. And this one works very much like the emphasize function insofar as that it has a semi-shaded transparent background and then your bright emphasized part. So now you can see where it is on the screen very clearly and be able to show your students that, but you can also see it more clearly within the magnifier. Pretty handy, right? Well, now you can actually combine any of these and be able to use like the hand one if you want to make it easier to be able to use with your hand, and the shaded function. And now you can see, you can use your hand within the magnifier to guide it, and you can see exactly where it is on the screen. It's pretty easy as well. And you can also combine that with the target function. So you use your mouse or the red box and the target. You actually have to unselect that before you can select that. And that is how to use the rectangle zoom function. Now we exit out of it much the way you would exit out of a browser using the red X, which you can see twice there. And that is how you use the Magic Pen within Smart Technologies. I hope you learned something today, and if you have any questions, you can email me at lmry7c@mail.missouri.edu. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.